Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, it's election eve. Parties make their final pitch. A PLP campaign worker stabbed to death. And water and sewage unions slam new promotions. Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, it's election eve in the Bahamas. Thousands of voters will head to the polls tomorrow to choose the next government. Touring polling stations today, Acting Parliamentary Commissioner Lovato Duncanson assured voters that the general election will be safer and more efficient. Jasmine Brown reports.
Duncanson addressed those concerns moments after he and the National Security Minister wrapped up a tour here at the A.F. Bradley Junior High School, which will serve as a polling station. And he says a lot has been learned since last week, and those changes will be implemented on Election Day.
Circumstances beyond our control dictate that we make adjustments. The team that you see standing around, every effort is going into ensuring that the process is as safe, as smooth as it can be.
He adds that there have been many tough lessons learned as they gear up to hold an election during a global pandemic.
We find ourselves operating during a time where there may be individuals who are scheduled to be a part of the process, but because of circumstances beyond their control, they may not be able to be a part of the process. Over this process, we have made adjustments. We have put in place replacements, and the intent is to ensure that, God willing, on tomorrow, there will be a general election in accordance with the Parliamentary Elections Act.
The acting parliamentary commissioner says they have also done all they can to avoid what happened at last week's chaotic advanced poll. Duncanson says they took note and insists a number of adjustments have been made, including plans to have waiting areas for the elderly and disabled where they can sit comfortably while waiting to cast their votes.
We intend to provide the signage that clearly indicates the constituency, the polling divisions that are located within those constituencies.
He says another concern is the number of polling agents who will be permitted to observe the voting process in the classrooms, which are relatively small.
This location, for example, has 9 candidates. The law permits up to 3 election poll agents, up to 3 per candidate. If we were to stick with the 3 per candidate, you can imagine that would be 27 election agents in the room that you would have just visited. And so we are seeking to balance a delicate situation.
Duncanson says they will have to work closely with political parties on that particular issue. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Just hours before the polls open for election 2021, the Free National Movement has widened its gap among likely voters, according to the latest Rev Media poll. On September 13th, likely voters were asked, if the general election was held today, how would you vote? 42% of respondents said they would vote for the FNM, 35% for the Progressive Liberal Party, and 11% hadn't decided yet. The poll was conducted on September 13th and audited by London-based independent marketing research firm F&Tailmus. Last week, the same question was asked to different results. 19% said they had not decided yet. The FNM was polling 34% and the PLP was polling 33%, with a margin of error of plus or minus 4%. Well, a campaign worker for the PLP's Yamacraw candidate was stabbed to death last night. Jared Higgs has the details.
Violence pairs the election season as an argument resulted in a man being stabbed to death on Antigua Street in Elizabeth Estates. The incident transpired shortly after 7 Tuesday evening.
We met a male lying in front of a constituency office. It would appear to be stab wounds to his upper torso.
Yamacraw PLPs sang hymns as they grieved the victim, a fellow campaign worker. According to police press liaison ASP Audley Peters, the victim was a well-known resident of Elizabeth Estates. He says a suspect was taken into custody. He was asked whether that suspect is also a PLP campaign worker.
From what we understand, both persons are known to each other. They've been known to each other for some time. It's an unfortunate situation that resulted as a result of the argument.
Family members on the scene told Our News the victim is Kenrick Cambridge. PLP Yamacraw candidate Zane Lightbourne said he's familiar with the victim and his family.
He was a very helpful young man. He actually was always ready to help. And he had just made arrangements to come early in the morning because we were going to give some chicken sauce to residents in the area.
Former PLP candidate Glendon Roll is a pastor at nearby Zion Yamacraw Baptist Church. He also knew the victim and called for peace during the election season.
Our prayers are with the community and also with Mr. Lightburn and of course all of the political aspirants and of course and during this season.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
PLP leader Philip Davis making the case for why the party should form the next government. He made the bold promise of a tax break if elected. Kyle Joaquin has that.
It's going to be a very busy night for PLP members and party supporters as Bahamians get ready to head to the polls tomorrow. But last night during a virtual rally, PLP leader Philip Davis wasted no time in calling out the minister's administration over its shortfalls.
The Prime Minister has no business being the Minister of Finance. Things are too serious and growing our economy is too urgent to have an amateur in charge.
As he promised to reduce the rate of value-added tax to 10%, Davis predicted that if re-elected, the F&M would seek to raise taxes.
We've been told by credible sources that the government called a snap election because their back is against the wall with the country's creditors. They are ready to raise your taxes, but they ain't planning to tell you that until after you vote. And they're going to raise your taxes because they are too afraid of their wealthy donors to raise theirs. And because they have no new ideas and no clue how to create economic growth.
In a last-ditch attempt to sway voters, especially the undecided, Davis said the tax cut his administration would implement would help, if only a little, to lighten the load during tough times.
What kind of government raises taxes for struggling Bahamians while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and well-connected? What kind of government charges hurricane victims who have just lost everything to be evacuated?
I know that I can make it.
The mood was subdued during the PLP's virtual rally last night, with only gospel music from Bahamians at home and overseas.
And pain is all around.
Even before Dorian and before COVID, they were putting themselves first at your expense. This was the project that they codenamed the People's Time.
Now, the party has another virtual rally underway right now, but the party leader is expected to head to Cat Island in the morning, where he's expected to spend the entire election day. From PLP headquarters for Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Over on Grand Bahama, the F&M is seeking another clean sweep on the island. Jillian Gray reports.
If you thought we did it in 2017, just wait until September 16th.
This girl is on fire.
There was singing, dancing, and a cadre of promises as a final appeal to Grand Bahamians to return the island's 5 seats to the F&M was made.
Leadership is what men is bring. Can't wait to vote on September 16th.
During a 2-hour event on Grand Bahama last night, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis said for any errors he's made, particularly after Hurricane Dorian, he asks for forgiveness and prayer daily.
I also ask God every day, especially in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian and during COVID, that where I have erred, please help me to do better for our people.
Minnis also defended the move to purchase the Grand Lucayan Hotel and said economic revival for Grand Bahama starts with tackling the pandemic.
We need you to give us 5 so that we can finish the work of ending the emergency phase of the pandemic. Once we break this wave and get the overwhelming majority of Bahamians vaccinated, we can open up our economy and return to more openness. I know you want to go back to normal and start your partying until 1 a.m.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Meanwhile, water and sewage managers and line staff unions are slamming a recent promotion exercise at the corporation. Union leaders are now calling on their members to do the right thing tomorrow. Jared Higgs has that.
Water and Sewage Management Union President Montgomery Miller and Boosterwoo President Dwayne Woods slamming 62 recent water and sewage promotions, saying due process wasn't followed.
While some select employees enjoy 4 and more level promotions over the course of the last 3 years, the overwhelming majority of WSC's decades-long serving and deserving employees have been intentionally overlooked.
At a press conference outside the corporation today, Miller said 29 of the 62 promotions were handed out to employees who already got promotions in 2018. Woods says a handful of deserving employees were included to disguise the intention of the promotions.
The union is once again calling for a forensic audit of the corporation, as well as a stop, cancel, and review, like Mr. Miller's already said, of the most recent promotion exercise.
Both Miller and Woods slammed the company's executive chairman, Adrian Gibson, as a micromanager and a one-man band. The unions have clashed with Gibson over a number of issues since he took up his post at the Water and Sewage Corporation. Gibson was himself embroiled in a scandal over contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars given to a woman with the same name as a woman he identified as his fiancée. With the general election tomorrow, Miller and Woods were clear that they are encouraging their employees not to support the F&M at the polls on Thursday.
This union makes a direct appeal to you, the public, the owners of the Water and Sewage Corporation, to intervene. Do what is right.
Reporting for Our News, I am Jared Higgs.
Cloudy conditions in the capital today. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest.
Thanks, Christine, and welcome everybody for your first look at weather on this hump day, Wednesday, the middle of the week. Current conditions outside our studios, we are warm and muggy, temperatures in the mid-80s, 85 outside our studios with passing clouds. Your winds out of the northeast at 5 knots, and your field-strike temperature in the mid to upper 80s. Satellite view, a little dry across the area. We have some patchy clouds and some isolated showers, but that low-pressure system to the east of the islands, trying to get its act together, will continue to lift towards the north and away. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, PLP leaders hit Grand Bahama and a man's body pulled from waters. The details after this.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Police are investigating a drowning incident at South Beach Canal today. Family members tell us the victim is 27-year-old Roger Williams Jr., a father of one. Police press liaison ASP Audley Peters says police were alerted by one of Williams' family members who made a complaint to the South Beach police station.
Immediately, the officers from the South Beach police station contacted the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and a search ensued where, along with the Defense Force assistance and the family member, the body was fished out of the canals. The persons were able to do CPR. However, that individual did not resuscitate.
Peters says Williams had on swimwear and there were no visible injuries. Shifting gears now, PLP Deputy Leader Chester Cooper expressing confidence that the party will win Grand Bahama, but he stopped short of predicting how many seats. Kyle Joaquin has that.
We're going to win Grand Bahama. That's all I will say. The leaders asked our team for the whole hog, and I'm happy to tell you that we're going to win Grand Bahama. I'm very confident.
The PLP deputy leader says the party ran a clean and superb campaign, which he's hoping is enough to produce a big win on Grand Bahama.
Our campaign, I thought, was superb. We believe that Minister tried to trick us by calling a snap election, but I'm happy that the joke is on him.
Cooper says for Grand Bahama, this election is about the issues, particularly government's handling of Hurricane Dorian. He also pointed to the Grand Lucayan, the hotel the Minnis administration has pumped millions into.
The governor spent more than $200 million, they say, to save jobs. All of those people are jobless. The place has no air conditioning. It smells like mold. And the reality is they got duped. They were out-negotiated. They were outwitted. And this is how it's been. We cannot trust them to negotiate on our behalf.
Thank you, sir.
There are some races on the island that people are keeping their eye on, like Pine Ridge, where the PLP's Ginger Moxie is going against incumbent Frederick McAlpine. And then there's East Grand Bahama, which the PLP is hoping to win for the first time in many years.
In a simple word, we're going to be men and women of our word. We're going to keep our promise to the Bahamian people, and we assure them that we are going to provide good governance from day one.
I am excited because I know that we're already in the win column. It is only now a matter of time. I'm encouraging all of the East Grand Bahama constituents to do as you have said you will do. You will vote one time, and you will vote safely.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Police beefing up their presence at polling stations on Election Day to ensure the chaos experienced during the advance poll is not repeated. Senior Assistant Commissioner Ashton Greenslade says hundreds of officers have been assigned to Election Day duties.
Tomorrow on Election Day, we'll have just over 700 police officers working to ensure that voters come and they're able to exercise their rights without being interfered with. And no less than the Commissioner of Police and his entire senior executive management team will be working tomorrow, and all of the polling stations will be manned by a chief superintendent.
Up next, the DNA's final pitch, and should elections happen over 2 days? Stay tuned.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is our news. Welcome back. The Democratic National Alliance is hoping that its message of change will resonate with voters as they head to the polls tomorrow. Giorgio Bain reports.
Deep inside the Democratic National Alliance headquarters, campaign volunteers are feverishly working on the final touches to documents needed at polling stations across the island. DNA leader Orinthia Komalafe is also hard at work. She stressed to voters that this election is one of the most crucial in recent history.
All intellectual capacity is not concentrated in the PLP and the FNM. We need a mixture of other persons inside the House of Assembly. We need a diverse House of Assembly so that there are more persons there contributing to the betterment of our nation.
Komalafe says she's not concerned about additional parties.
What persons fail to realize is that every general election, there are always multiple parties on the ballots. And if you go back and you look at the statistics, a lot of those parties do not poll even up to 1% of the total number of voters that come out.
Her party, however, is already encountering some issues. 3 of her candidates were listed as independent on ballot cards.
It will be very difficult for the parliamentary office to certify those elections or have those elections certified when there is a candidate that is on the ballot that is not adequately reflected. And so that's something that we're watching. We've not been getting any resolution on it despite following up on it daily. And so we'll be looking at that, and if it's not rectified, it's going to cause an issue in the aftermath of the elections tomorrow.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Amid a pandemic, a senior physician is suggesting a change to the way general elections are held in the country. Bethany McDermott explains.
Amid an increase in COVID-19 hospitalizations and deaths, consultant physician Dr. Loxley Monroe is suggesting the general election be held on more than one day.
Within this new norm, normally we have election on one day. We have a pre-election with the security forces. This time we talk about the older folks and so forth. The truth of the matter is we probably need to have election over 2 or 3 days so that truly you can socially distance the persons.
Individuals in quarantine will be allowed to vote on Thursday. The Parliamentary Registration Department has urged voters to wear masks at all times, physically distance themselves, and to sanitize their hands before and after voting.
And those who are high risk, you need to put them into different, if you have them registered in your contact tracing, okay, you say you don't want to deny their constitutional rights. They are arguing for their constitutional rights. Okay, how can you meet that need of these persons? Certainly, you cannot or you ought not to be holding the election in the usual way.
And despite the increase in COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths, Monroe maintains there's no need for increased restrictions. He stressed, though, that Bahamians should follow COVID-19 safety protocols.
Avoid going out if you don't have to. Avoid being in crowds and so forth.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Still to come, could it be another hot day at the polls? Stay tuned.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. A sunny day at the polls. Greg is back with the extended forecast.
Thanks again, Christina, and welcome back everybody for your second look at weather. First, we take a look at the tropics in our satellite view. Nicholas, no more a named storm. It's basically falling apart. Showers and thunderstorms associated with that system will continue to spread eastwards across portions of the southeast United States. And we could see a couple of that showers and thunderstorms moving across the area. Low pressure system to the east of the Bahamas. We're still watching that one for possible development. We'll continue to lift towards the north away from the Bahamas. And then out there, well in the Atlantic, there's an area of low pressure just southwest of the Cape Verde Islands with a high chance for formation. We will continue to watch it one over the next couple of days as it continues to push towards the west. Boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Winds will be southeast to south at 10 knots, seas running 1 to 3 feet over the ocean. While in the southeast Bahamas, southeast flow at 10 to 15 knots, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Low tide will be at 10:35 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Monday. That's a look at our weather. Have a safe evening, everybody. Christina?
Thanks, Greg, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night for coverage of Election Night 2021. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.